Hello folks, welcome back. So in the previous video, we learned how to inspect elements using the XPath locator. Now, we didn't really talk about complex or complicated XPaths just yet. We will, so just, be patient, and we'll cover all of that throughout the course once we start automating robust test cases or more complicated test cases, okay? But there is still some part left about XPath and how to write dynamic XPaths and so forth, and then I'll also show you some tricks so that you can inspect your elements much quicker throughout the course. However, before proceeding, I figured that there probably are some topics we can talk about right now to cover along the way before we get there, so you can have some idea, okay, on some of these methods or functions that we can perform with Selenium. I would like to present now the getTitle and getCurrentUrl methods. Okay, so both getTitle and getCurrentUrl methods return a string. You can use these methods to verify the title and or URL of the page. Now, these methods actually don't perform the verification. Okay, they only return a string, but we can return the string and then we can verify it or perform what's called an assertion. We'll talk about that later using a different library, for example, like TestNG. So it's actually recommended to perform a verification point, also known as an assertion, using a library such as TestNG, which has classes and methods available to perform assertions. Now, we're going to be working with TestNG later on in the course, mainly to perform assertions. So, watch those videos. They're really good. I'll show you how to verify different or assert different parts of your UI, in different ways, and we'll talk about exception handling and so forth, right? But right now, let's just talk about the basics about getTitle and getCurrentUrl. Okay, so I'm going to go to VS Code, and I'm going to create a new class because this one got obviously a little too messy. So I'm going to just drag this over here. I'm going to right click on the automation folder or package. I'm going to create a new class. I'll create new file, and I'll call this getTitle getCurrentUrl.java. Okay, and inside this class, I'll create a main method, and I'm just going to go ahead and instantiate the Chrome driver, maximize the window, do all that stuff. Now, you can go back to the previous class, copy and paste, but if you're just starting off, I highly recommend that you start just familiarizing yourself with Selenium and just writing everything out, okay? At least for now. So I'm going to say WebDriver driver equals new Chrome driver, okay? Just like this. Now, I don't have any errors because since I've already been working in VS Code, VS Code is automatically importing these classes or this interface for me. But if it's not, don't panic. For example, if I delete the imports on line 3 and 4, I'm going to have errors here like this. That just means I have to click on this, click on the bulb, and import WebDriver from the Selenium library. And also with Chrome driver, click on the bulb and import Chrome driver from the Selenium library, and then everything is roses. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just maximize the window. So I'll say driver.manage.window.maximize. I do remember also deleting cookies as well. We talked about that. We said driver.manage.delete all cookies, and then finally we can do driver.get. We actually stored the URL though in a string like this. So I'm just going to declare a string, and I'm going to go ahead and get the value here, which you guys should have. Now, you see this URL is a bit different. So the actual URL that we want to use is, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. You guys could use this one right here. Make sure it says login. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this, or you can just copy the one from the previous class. It's right here, right? We already had it here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and just paste this here, and then I'll do driver.get and just parameterize this reference variable URL here. And just to make sure everything's working as expected, I'm going to save all my changes. Again, Control S or Command S if you're using Mac, or File, Save All. And I'm going to go ahead and run this program. Let's see if everything is working. Okay. So I'm expecting the browser to maximize and get to this page, and that's it. We're good. So it is working. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Again, I like to repeat, later on in the course, I'm going to show you how to properly close a browser. It's a very easy topic, by the way. You probably already figured it out. However, I do have some examples that will show you the differences between driver.close and driver.quit. Okay, but that would be in the next few videos. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now, if you have a Mac, down in your docking area, your dock, you may have some extra Chrome icons opening. That would actually eat up your RAM. So make sure you force quit all of those Chrome browsers, at least for now, okay, until we learn how to properly close a browser. Okay, so this is working as expected. Okay, so once we're here, right, once we navigate to this website here, let's get the title of the page. So here's a question for you folks. I'm gonna go ahead and log in. You should have the login credentials, by the way. Still, you can still use the general at teacher right here. You can use the general at teacher.com, and the password is 123456. Okay, if you watch a previous video, I'm sure you were able to log in. Okay, now what is the title of the page, right? So what is it? Is it this text right here? Is it this? Is it somewhere up here? The title of the page is actually the name or the text that you see on the tab of the actual window, okay, of the actual tab. This right here is the title of the page. So in your projects, you may have to verify that the title of the page has a certain text, and we can use Selenium to help us verify that. Okay, now we won't perform the verification just yet in this video. We'll do it later when we start working with assertions, right? But let's get the text of this page here, of this the title of this page. Okay, so in order to do that, there's a method called driver.getTitle. Okay, just like this, and you don't have to do anything, but I want to show you something interesting. Okay, if we hover over this method, the return type is a string. Okay, this means that this method has a return type other than void. Now I'm going to throw some comments out there, and again, this is if you already understand some of your Java. In Java, every time you create a method, you need to specify a return type. If you don't want to specify a return type, then you need to specify the void keyword. Okay, those are just the rules, okay, of creating methods in Java, unless you're creating a constructor, which is a special type of method, okay, that does not require a return type because our constructor returns nothing, right? But again, if what I'm saying right now is gibberish, don't worry about it, okay? The point that I'm going to make here, though, is very simple. Right here, I wrote getTitle, and I'm expecting to get the text of the title. I'm trying to get the title of the page in the form of a string. So you would think that just by writing this command, we would see the text. Let's go ahead and run this program. Let's see what happens. So again, Chrome maximizes, navigates to the website, and it stops there. Okay, let me go ahead and close this. We actually, in the debug console, don't really see anything, right? So how do we have to use this? How do we have to use this method so we can see the title of the page? Well, because it returns a string, we actually have to print it out, and it returns a string. You can do this two ways, by the way, right? So I can do sysout like this. We can copy this statement here, just like this, okay, and paste it here. Okay, that's one way. Let me go ahead and delete this on line 19. Okay, let me go ahead and format this code, Control-Shift-F, right? So now I'm going to print out the title of that page. It returns as a string, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and run this program again, and let's see what we get, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and run this. Chrome browser maximizes, we get to the page. Now let's see if the title is in the console, okay? And it's right here, right? Login Chroma Tech Academy, okay? That's the actual title of the page. Let's see if that's true. Let me go ahead and sign out, and it is. It says login, right? Chroma Tech Academy, and the exact same way, login : Chroma Tech Academy, right here, login space : space Chroma Tech Academy. So we were able to print the title of the page. Okay, and again, you can use this method. Now I'm printing this statement out like this. This wouldn't really be good practice. Instead, you would do something like this. So you would say driver.getTitle. Because this returns a string, right? You can store it in a string. So I can say string. We can say actual title. I'm going to say actual title. We're going to initialize it with this value, and then you can just print, you can just call the reference variable of this string, right? So you'll say actual title just like this, and bam, just like this. And it does the same thing. Okay, it just looks a bit cleaner. So you may want to get in the habit of writing code like this, because later on when we start automating more robust scripts, then you'll see why writing clean code is good practice. Okay, so if you run it, again, we'll see the same thing, just like this. We see the title, perfect, done. Okay, and if you want to see it more visible, or if you want to visibly see it better in the debug console, go ahead and concatenate this with some other text. Okay, and capitalize it. For example, like title of page is space, and just go ahead and hit go ahead and concatenate this just like this, right? Title, I'm concatenating this text, right? So I'm getting this string with the space here, using the plus operator, right? The additive operator to concatenate this string value here. And if you go ahead and run it, you should still see the same thing, but you'll be able to visibly see the title of the page in the console much better. Okay, so that's up to you. It's optional. You don't have to do that. Okay, so this actually gives us the title of the page. Okay, remember that the title of the page is the name that you see here up top. Okay, the actual name on the tab. This is the title of the page here. Okay, so let's talk about getCurrentUrl. Okay, so getCurrentUrl is the same thing. So we can do driver.getCurrentUrl just like this. And if we hover over this method, it returns a string. So if we want to see it, we actually need to print it out. So I'm going to go ahead and store this in a string. I'll call it, I'm going to say actual URL, just like this. And I'm going to go ahead and print this out just like this. Okay. And I formatted my code, Control-Shift-F. Again, we want to visibly see this better in the console, so I'll say URL of login page is, and you're probably wondering, why do we have to do this? Well, you may have some requirements in your project where you have to verify that the URL from a certain page is displaying as expected. You will realize that every time you navigate through a website, the URL changes, and you want to make sure that the URL is the correct URL so that the user does not get directed somewhere else. Okay, so again, I'm just printing these values out. We're actually not verifying anything just yet. We will do that in the later videos. But right now I'm retrieving, well, we retrieve the title of the page, and right now I'm going to retrieve the URL from this page. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and run this. Okay, let browser open. Okay, everything is good. I'll go ahead and close this, and you can see this here, URL of login page is, and this is the URL. Okay, so this is how you would use getTitle or getCurrentUrl. You notice that with these methods though, we actually did not have to inspect any elements. Okay, because there can only be one title and there can only be one URL per page, right? So you don't really have to inspect or do anything crazy like that. We were able to retrieve it. I showed you how to print it, and that we do have to print it if we want to see it in the console. But again, as of right now, we haven't verified anything just yet, meaning we haven't performed any verification point. That will come in the later videos. Okay, so go ahead and write this code out, print out the title of the page, print out the URL of the page, and I'll see you guys in the next video.